What's up, my people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of 5 Things We Learned. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester United 2. Amazing game. A lot of talking points. Physical game, intense game, and ultimately, United got the very, very important 3 points. So, guys, let's jump right into the analysis of this game. I think first and foremost, as I said earlier, we expected it was going to be an intense game because United is, first of all, it's not at the level where Crystal Palace will sit back and, we have the ball and do all those things. Crystal Palace will feel, as we saw in the game, especially the first half, even throughout the whole game, they would feel that they have a shot at going on this United side. Obviously, because of the result we've had, obviously because of our form, right? And so we saw that in that game, that they approached that game differently from what they will approach top teams. They came out, they tried, to impose themselves on the game. They were very intense. They took, beautiful decisions on the ball in the first half, that Crystal Palace, and they caused us a little bit of problems. Also, we expected in this game that it's going to be a very, very, very physical game. Obviously, we know that the way Crystal Palace is built is a very, very physical side, and they will offer us problem in their defense, offer us problem in our defense. So we had some positives in terms of how we dealt with the intensity, but I feel we also have some negatives that really showed us that we are not there yet. We're happy about the 3 points. We're happy about the mentality of the boys in this game, but also in the intensity of our game. First and foremost, our midfield was not as intense, as Crystal Palace midfield, especially in the first half. The second half, when the intensity dropped off, and you can see the manager, that's Glasner, change some things in their midfield, and they add a little bit of control back into the game. But our midfield is not there yet. Casemiro is a fantastic player, but I would always say that United should let him go. We have to make that decision. A good player, we appreciate his effort, but the way we want to go to as a team, Casemiro cannot take us there. And I think today, especially in the first half, you could see that if you had a more intense midfield, we would have dominated in the midfield and also helped our general overplay in that first half. But we did not dominate in the midfield. We struggled at moments in the first half in that midfield. And I feel that's one of the major points that we learned there in terms of the intensity in our midfield. I think physically, now let's go to physicality of the game. Physically also, we had positives. We also had negatives as usual. So positives is the sense of, now, defensive-wise, there were certain moments where we exhibited our physicality. The likes of Shaw, the likes of Delete at some moment, even though I understand that Euro was shaking this game, which I will address. But there are certain moments where we had that physicality in our defensive side of things, right? We're that physical, we're imposing, we tried. At least we were there, we're in those battles, which was very nice to see. But in our attacking side of things, we didn't have that physicality. We're not able to deal with the long balls. And I like the fact that since we're not able to deal with the long balls, especially in the first half, we adapted our game to fit the kind of striker we were playing. And that's why you can see in the second half, Zegzi was having to do link up at certain moments, but the link up were balls that were on the ground. I think we said this on this podcast before, that Joshua Zegzi is a fantastic player, but it's a player that you have to play in a certain way. It's not a player that you want to play when in a struggling side like United currently. And what do I mean? For example, under Benjamin Sesko, whenever we are playing with Benjamin Sesko, we try to just load it up, long ball, to evade certain phases of play and load it up to Sesko. And Sesko can maybe bring it down, physicality, and maybe try and link up. But Zegzi today had those moments of long ball, and I'm not sure he won, if he even won, maybe 1 or 2. He didn't win that, but you could see that the moment, at certain moments, we could see his own kind of game. And his kind of game is, pass it to me, I link up. So it has to be, it's not long that he has to now start doing aerial duels. He just pass it to me. So it's a different kind of striker. And the way he plays is a very, very exotic way. And United is not there yet. I think this is what I keep repeating. We are not there yet to play with him. But obviously, I'm happy with the fact that he got a goal. Build his confidence. It's really good for strikers to score goals, and I think it was a fantastic goal. I think with his weaker foot, so it was really good. But you can see the difference between Sesko and Zegzi. It's beginning to show how that when you play with each of them, the way you approach the game also differs. The kind of game you want to use them also differs. So, guys, let's talk about Leny Yoro in defensive side. It was shaky. I think he also knows it was shaky because when he was substituted, you could see the camera was on his face. And I feel that he should not be too hard on himself, but also he should be hard on himself because this is Manchester United and you have to deliver. But I don't think this is a moment for us to now come and start criticizing him. He had a bad game. He's still a young player, still trying to develop. There are a lot of his games, I've said many times here, there are a lot of his games that a part of his game that he needs to improve upon. But we will support him. He should be hard on himself, but he should not be too hard on himself. So he has to improve. Especially when you are playing physical sides, intense sides, which we will see many times in the Premier League. You have to be there. Now, let's go to another part of this discussion, another point. Is our wing backs. I felt that, yes, I understand that with the way we play and the opponent we are having in a 3-4-3 system or a 3-4-2-1 system, I expected that because of the eventual defensive phase of 5 at the back, that our wing backs might not necessarily have a lot of freedom as they would have when you are playing against a 4 at the back team. But I felt that there were certain moments where we could have made some patterns of play to give our wing backs certain penetrations. And even against a team that is playing 4, we don't really have that penetration. I saw a particular moment which was also very, very interesting to see when Bruno had to drop from the midfield, drop to the left-hand side, which allowed Shaw to push forward, which allowed Dalot to be higher up. We need to develop different patterns of play to ensure that our wing-backs get that advantage in that side and are able to penetrate. I think we need to, even the wing-backs themselves and the inside forward need to have that understanding. I know on the side of Mbeumo and Ahmad, there's that understanding, but on the other side, we've not gotten that understanding. And I think we have to, in the sense of, one of the things we can do as basic, in the sense of our wing inside forward should be out wide most times, and then drive in, take people in through your movement that leaves space for our wing backs to push. I think we need to, with those basic things, we need to do it more to get penetration, because sometimes in this game, I felt there were certain moments where we could have gotten more penetration on our, especially our left wing, and we didn't get that penetration, and it was not nice to see. So we need to develop our penetrative play on that left hand side, and I think if we do that, it will be very amazing. We can do that. So it's all about, for this moment where the window is not open, what we can do is develop a lot of more patterns of play that gives us an edge. Now let me talk about that thing. I felt that at a moment when I was watching the game, I was like, there are certain substitutions that we should have made. But as a manager, for example, our midfield, after we got a dominance in the second half, not necessarily dominance, but we are handling it better. The introduction of Mazraoui also helped us to undo, that half of that right hand side a little bit better. We were more comfortable. We were not shaky when Mazraoui came on board for some moments. But I felt that there were certain things that certain substitutions we should have made to give us that continual dominance. For example, I felt that we needed a new midfield, right? I felt that the likes of Casemiro should be removed and we need an energetic midfield. But when you look to the bench, who is energetic that will come in and improve our levels in the midfield? There's nobody you can trust to do that. When you see, for example, Mason Mount, I felt, Mount has been very intense in that area. This is a guy that's injury prone. This is the guy that is just recovering in his career. It's an amazing asset to us. You can see today the intensity he brings to the team, the doggedness he brings to the team. I felt, let's reserve him. Let's put another intense player in. We don't have. So you see, and these are the substitutions that we need to be able to have. Manchester United needs to get 2 midfielders in January. This game is another indication. Last game was an indication. This game is also another indication. We need to get 2 midfielders in this winter transfer window if we are serious. I keep repeating it. This game showed it again. And the 2 things that should direct our signing in this January as regards midfielders, I've said it before, I'm repeating it again after this Crystal Palace game, is intensity and physicality. And for me, if I was to be the one to sign those players, I'll be getting Baleba and Elliot Anderson into this side. We are crying for those kind of midfielders. Watkins was fantastic today, especially in the first half. I think it was built to be his game because of our midfield structure and the fact that he could tap and move and do the different variation of passes. It was his game. But at certain moments, they lost their intensity in their overall play. They were not as intense in the first half. And I think he also was not as dominating as he was in the first half. So guys, amazing result for United. As I've said, the game to think United will lose is the game they win. Today shows that again, people say Crystal Palace, we're going to win us and everything, but you can see that we won that game. And the games you think United will win is what they lose. So we need to keep the focus on. We need to approach every game the same way. We need to play football from the beginning to the end. Start well, continue well, and end well. I think if we do that, like we did in this game, I think we'll get a lot more points this season. So guys, these are my points on today's game. What are your opinions about the game? What do you have to say about the match? Let's have that discussion in the comment section. Thank you for always sticking with us. Thank you for your love. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to share. Until we see you next time. Bye.